That is a side note. Um,
That's a pretty name, Margaret.
it is, yeah. It's a cool name, I guess. It's kind of old fashioned, but I have many relatives named Margaret, so it's lots of aunties named Margaret also. Anyway, right now it's time for Thankful Thursday here on ACIM Gather, and we're live on YouTube. Turning this mic over to you, David Fishman, Lori Coburn, and Sharon Slack or Slider.
Doesn't
Happy Thursday.
matter.
The mic is all yours.
Hi, everyone. I'll go first if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We're on lesson 320. My Father gives all power unto me. Before I go into that, Margaret in Spanish is Margarita, and it means daisy. That's a pretty name.
Yeah, and actually, it means a pearl. It's a Persian name, and
Oh,
it actually is named after, of course, I'm sure it's been older than that, but Margaret actually means um, uh, child of light. And it's because when the moon is full, the oysters come up to worship the moon. And when they come up to worship the moonbeams hit the oysters and become pearls. And so they call the pearl the child of light. And Margaret means a pearl. So, you know, for whatever that means. Anyway, turning the mic over to you, Lori Coburn. Thank you for being here.
thanks. That's really pretty. I'm getting a bad echo. Is that mine? Or are you guys hearing it?
It's echoing. It's echoing.
Is that mine? Do I need to let me mute myself and you talk at Sharon or Dove and see if it echoes for you.
It's because Dove had Pal Talk on. So I muted Dove, and I'm sure he's muted Pal Talk. So
okay, I'll go with reading Ken's commentary on lesson 320. My Father gives all power unto me. This statement is another reinterpretation of a biblical saying referred to in A Course in Miracles. In the New Testament, Jesus says, all power is given unto me in heaven and earth. Matthew 28:18, which means God gave Jesus all power, not anyone else. This is in the Bible, of course. His is the power because he is God's son. In A Course in Miracles, Jesus says that God does indeed give all power unto his son, but we are all his sons. At the beginning of this lesson, Jesus refers to the limitlessness of the Son of God. Yet in the ego's Christian thought system, the sonship of God is limited, for there is only one true son. The rest of us are adopted. Ephesians 1:5. We accept this second-class condition as true and project it out, seeing everyone as more limited than we, the specialness that is at the core of the ego's power. Paragraph 1, lines 1-4 read, the Son of God is limitless. There are no limits on his strength, his peace, his joy, nor any attributes his Father gave in his creation. What he wills with his Creator and Redeemer must be done. His holy will can never be denied, because his Father shines upon his mind and lays before it all the strength and love in earth and heaven. This is interesting, and I love it because, Dove, here it is, your thing about equality, your favorite word, equality, or I don't know if that's your favorite word, but it's one of your favorite topics, equality. And as I was reading this, what really hit me is that the special relationship is all about inequality. And the text talks about that one person sees another person as having more or less than them. And if only they can fix that or rule over the other person or eliminate the other person or get what the other person has, then they will be saved. And I never really saw that before with the special relationship. And I of course, as we've talked about, my tend to be with my love partner, so-called love. There's no such thing as ego love, but I can see that totally, where I would go back and forth on, he's better than me this way, I'm better than him this way, I've got to fix him in this way, I've got to be better, I've got to fix myself so he'll accept me in this way. And it's all specialness and it's all hatred and it's not real love. And as the text says, the special relationship is it's wanted not to offset, not to get rid of the hate, but only to offset it so that you don't really see the hatred of the ego, and you go round and round and round with your special relationship dynamics, passing back and forth between love and hate and fear and acceptance, all of that, in order to keep that relationship perfect and special and beautiful so that you will feel safe and saved in this world. And of course, it will never work. So I'm really happy to see this morning, that one of the basic things in the special relationship is inequality. So I see your hand is up, Dove, and I'm just going to turn this over to you.
Thank you for that super duper opening. Thank you so much, Laura. And thanks for bringing up the idea of equality, because, like so many people who are part of the ACIM Gather family community, and we meet in our Zoom sessions Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, and there's such a feeling of family. Almost everyone says, we're in such harmony, etc. Now, that's almost all by design, because ACIM Gather was created to produce the feelings of equality and sameness by saying we're all teachers of God, not just one or two whose name is on the top of the thing. There's not too many communities where everyone is invited to become a teacher of God, because we are teachers of God. He tells you that in lesson 154, I am among the ministers of God, and then 155 tells you exactly how to do it. Let me step back, let him lead the way. I don't really know the way. And as ACM Gather matured, we all evolved into stepping back, developing trust, which is really what teaching is about, is developing trust. And then I'll just go into today's lesson for just a second. My Father gives all power unto me, and it's Ken Wapnick's one-liner on the whole thing. It says, in the course, Jesus says that God does indeed give all power unto his Son, but we are all his sons. The strength of God's limitlessness is the answer to all problems here. And this is the first time I kind of caught how deep Ken goes with that, the limitlessness. So that speaks to one of two things that we talk about, but we don't quite understand. One is like in lesson 152, power of decision is my own. It says, no one leaves, no one dies without their own consent. Now, to the ego mind, or a very narrow aperture, they say, well, why would I choose to get on an airplane and they crashes and dies? Why would I do that? Well, to the ego's very, linear mind, that doesn't even sound like something I would do, right? But to the limitlessness, the word is limitlessness is the answer to all problems here. Who we truly are, say, hey, listen, I came here for learning lessons. My lessons are over, and I gladly go home. And I think the other place where that shows up is under trust in the Teacher's Manual, section 4, where basically it says the teachers of God have trust in the world. Now, after he tells you there is no world, why would he tell you to have trust in the world? And goes on to say, because they have recognized that it's not governed by the laws of this world, which is, the strongest army, the strongest mind, the most intellect, the greatest. is going to inherit the earth. No, no. We are all have the same power that is in us, but not of us. So it says we have recognized that the thing that powers this world is not the laws of this world, but the power that is in us, in all of us, but not of us. So that speaks exactly to today's lesson 320. My Father gives all power unto us, one, equal. Love you all. Over to you, Sharon. Love you.
Okay. Hi, good morning. Where am I now? Right here. So, Ken has a way of keeping us humble. It's not an accident that I turned to a lesson called I Follow in the Way Appointed Me. The power that we have comes from our Creator, right? So he has a way of really voicing humility, because I've seen this, and again, these are just concepts. But I didn't get to go to. I was busy this weekend at my son's in Philly. I had a wonderful time, and I didn't go to Bill and Lisa's weekend, and I was feeling a guidance not to go, because there's really nothing to get. Now, if it was there and I wanted to listen, fine. That there was a time in my process that I wanted to only really listen to other people, because I didn't know, a lot of the stuff that has been undone in me was being undone as I was listening, as I was studying. But I often think to myself, if I never had a room to go in, would I wake up anyway? And I say yes, because the process, the course, all of it mitigates our guilt, because there's a lot of pain in waking up. But I really think the process is happening through us, and we only have to do is be willing. But who's the willingness but spirit? Willing is not from wrong mind. Willing comes from right mind, right? Spirit wakes up, and then it just seems as though, and that happens organically. So there was some arrogance in my mind in this process when I would tell people to do the 12 steps or do A Course in Miracles. It changed my life. That's the ego saying, do what I did and you'll be happy. And you see, that's how I see the ego when it pretty much can kidnap me in the present moment, just by saying, tell them you can do this and you can help them and you could do that. No, everyone is being guided perfectly. This movie's over, right? So Ken has a way of keeping us humble, because he says in I follow in the way appointed means I do not want to be first. And see, that is the way the Course in Miracles has set up. A lot of the themes in A Course in Miracles is all about the fact to get rid of the arrogance of the ego. Because the ego, if it's the driver, it will tell everybody it's awakened, it's done this, it's done that. Nobody really cares, right? It's all ego that wants recognition. It's just this thing that he said in this lesson. He says, at the beginning, we told God, I am first cause and you follow me. I have the power. I'm in charge. This belief is the motivation behind the mantra found in some New Age circles. I am God. None of us wants to follow, for we want to be number one. In this lesson, therefore, Jesus brings us back to the humility we must practice as students of this course. I will follow the way my teacher instructs so I can come to God, who is my creator. I am not his. He is mine. So when I was speaking about the weekend that they were talking from Teachers of God, a lot of times, and I love Rupert Spira, but he'll say we are God, and it's blasphemous to think you're not. And see, when you're a course student, you learn basically you're not really God, you're God's son, But even though there's no separation between the Father and the Son, there's a recognition that we follow him, right? It's always who is the part of us, like I'm talking and I could be in right mind or wrong mind. I could be going back and forth and not even seeing that, right? Just by not realizing that this is all happening through this mind that I'm in. So I love that he has done that. I don't think one time had I ever heard, and I don't know Ken's work as much as well as maybe other people, but I can say I never heard him say he was awakened or enlightened. That's just not how he was. But it was funny. I met a woman a couple of years ago who used to go to Temecula to see Ken, and she would feel his energy. Again, it's her energy, but it was a transmission. See, that's somebody that, for me anyway, and I will say Joe Goldsmith too. I'm throwing out names because I'm sitting back teaching myself the most beautiful part of this process is complete humility. Because humility comes from the reality is that we have a creator that's really in charge of this. And even when we as the Son of God made this dream, there's still one that has, meaning the oneness that made this whole dream up. And we all have different parts. The way I see it is that the person is never in charge because there's no person. It's all mind, right? So what is it that comes to and it's funny because it's a journey without distance, because all we really want is to live in the present. And what keeps us out of the present is the belief that these thoughts mean something. These thoughts mean absolutely nothing. And I have been grateful to notice in my mind when I have judgments and I'm careless and I don't see that I am still hiding my own dark thoughts about maybe something that I'm arrogant about. Because it's not like I could see arrogance out there if it's not in me, right? Because everybody's a mirror of who I am. So it's kind of interesting because the lesson today, we realize that our power is from our Creator. And isn't that beautiful? We don't have to take the lead here. We have a higher self that's in charge. And even if we are the higher self, we have to surrender to it. Surrender means we don't know. And the way is really already over. It's already completely over. So in text chapter 26, it says to use the power God has given you as he would have it used is natural. It is not arrogant to be as he created you, nor to make use of what he gave to answer all his son's mistakes and set him free. But it is arrogant to lay aside the power that he gave you and choose a little senseless wish instead of what he wills. So all it is the fact that we are asked to be free. We are asked to be happy. And we are really asked to drop the idea that Sharon is all that important. Because she's an idea. She's not anybody to, she'll be gone. When I transition, I'll be a memory of that to some, right? So it's just like, it seems like we're going around the sun, like I'll be 69 in January and here I am again. But this is all an optical illusion, right? Because there's only here now. And heaven is a state of mind. It's not like we're going to, when we die, I don't know what happens. I don't know. But I would think that it's just, heaven is a state of our mind. And where is our mind? Is it stillness? So it's kind of like beautiful when you start to really, when I start to recognize that, because there are judgments I have in my mind still about blah, blah, blah. But again, if I pull myself back and I say, wait a minute, if I could see that out there, what's still there? Because until I am gone as a body completely, there will be scraps of dark corners in the mind that still need to be released. Over to you, Laura.
Thanks, Sharon. And good morning, Zulma. I see Zulma's in the Zoom room. And Lynn, if you are listening right now, could you put on the Pal Talk chat image so that I can respond to what people are saying in the Pal Talk room? I'll continue with Ken's commentary on lesson 320. My Father gives all power unto me. The strength of God's limitlessness is the answer to all problems perceived here on earth. And he quotes from chapter 7. The oneness of the Creator and the creation is your wholeness, your sanity, and your limitless power. This limitless power is God's gift to you because it is what you are. There is no circumstance it cannot answer, and no problem which is not resolved within its gracious light. Paragraph 1, lines 5 to 6 read, I am he to whom all this is given. I am he in whom the power of my Father's will abides. So if we are this he to whom all this is given, I am he in whom the power of my Father's will abides, we're absolutely not these small, limited people. And this is the lesson that keeps coming to me since my former partner Rod's transition in August, because he has come to me as an eagle. And we know that word in that line in the course that says, why do you attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle it has been given you? And here's this lesson on power. And I keep hearing these verses in A Course in Miracles that talk about power, and I've never really thought of it before. Power. Well, certainly the dream character, the body, the personality is not powerful at all, because the ego thought system is all about fear, and the body is of the ego thought system unless we have given its purpose over to the Holy Spirit. And that's what keeps coming to me. I'm seeing so much how the ego is frightened. Not that I haven't seen it before, I've always seen it, but it's just relentless. And of course, we've seen that too. But when I step into, that's right, I am the Holy Son of God himself, I can feel that power. We can all feel it. When we accept atonement, when we accept what the Course says about us, you're not this person, you're not this body. You are this power, you are the Son of God. It feels so different. And to the ego, it is so incredibly scary, because once again, I can see the ego in me wanting to attach to the story of my beloved, who we had a wonderful relationship, and we had a special love relationship, we had a special hate relationship, and we had a holy relationship. And then he died in this horrible, horrible way for the body to go. And that's all a story. And when I come to, wow, this really is a dream, it's all a thought in my mind. I'm not Lori, he wasn't Rod, you're not Dove or Sharon or Lynn or Zulma. None of us are these personalities. Then when you get really right down to it, for me anyway, I mean, I can say that, and the ego can say that glibly. Oh, this is all a dream. Oh, it's not real. It's all an illusion. But when I get right down to it and I imagine myself completely releasing the body and moving into the idea that my whole life never existed, and like what you were saying, Sharon, that was so perfect. When you make your transition, Sharon will be a memory to some, but after a while, Sharon won't exist anymore. And I see that when people die, quote unquote, die. I saw that with my dad, how important my dad was to so many people. And now people don't even talk about him. And I think about him, but not that often. And it's scary. It's scary to the ego to just go, oh my God, wow. And part of me just really wants to keep that story alive with Rod. But the other part of me is like, no, do I want freedom or do I want the story? Do I want freedom or do I want the past? Do I want freedom or do I want bodies? And there's a line about the holy relationships that says, do you want freedom of the body or freedom of the mind? For both you cannot have. And that is terrifying. But when you push through it and accept, oh, the truth of your being, then that's where the total freedom lies. And so I'm going to turn this over to you, Dov.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Laura. You kind of remind us how we get stuck in things. And you might say the course's whole idea is get unstuck, undo, let go. And I went a little bit deeper on kind of what Sharon had said earlier. Well, we're going around the sun, another revolution around the sun, and we're just going repeating. It's repetition. We just keep doing the same thing. And now I see real value in seeing lesson 152, what it says, no one dies without their own consent. So, the ego says, come on, man, who wants to die? That's crap. Wait a minute, look at it a completely different way. If you're really the awareness and not the body, you're in the 7th grade. Do you really want to stay in the 7th grade year after year after year, or do you want to go on to the 8th grade or the 9th grade or the 10th? You want to graduate high school? Do you want to keep going? Now, we as the Son of God see the world as a classroom, which is what it is. It is not the world's my oyster. Let me go out and get what I can get because I lack. No. The Son of God sees the whole picture out of his awareness, which is another word for limitlessness. Limitlessness and awareness is the same thing. So you don't want to stay stuck repeating the same lesson over and over and over. So you gladly say, hey, I'm out of here. You gladly say, hey, there's nothing left for me to learn on this go round. I'll see you soon again. And I see that as why lesson 152, the power of decision is my own. No one leaves here without their own consent is exactly why it is. And with that, turn it over to you, Sharon.
It's funny when they say no one leaves without their own consent. There's no separate soul, so I've always been confused by that. But I guess the imprint is in me when I'm time to leave, right? I mean, I don't know how this really works, and I've never really understood it. So I always come back with, maybe I don't know that. I mean, maybe it's okay not to know that it's by my consent, because it's really just one consent, right? And when we go, it's the atonement unfolding. That's what we really are. The atonement is the unfolding of what never was, right? And when we look at our love for our Father, then we love everyone, because the Father is the creator and we are the creation, right? Believing we're in a world and believing the world's very important. So it's important to, in this process, at least now, so much has fallen away for my, where I am now. And of course, progress has happened because this is just the willingness that's doing it. That's how I see it. It's really willingness that's doing all of it. I used to say, Holy Spirit, I'm just so willing to see differently. But everything is happening perfectly. And it's not happening in a way that we would think. Because, again, our thinking mind believes we're a person. We're not a person. And what is the undoing? It's all the beliefs that got tangled up in us, right? We were tangled up in good, bad, right, wrong, hate, love. It's all prejudice. And all of that is just this whole play on opposites, the play on dark and light. That's really what it was. It's a dark and light play. And the darkness is really like, we don't realize it sometimes when we're thinking, but it does stop the flow, right? The flow of the energy, because we're really life force, or, bringing every one of us, or the atonement, because this this winding up of what never really was. And you know, the more that I exercise my memories on what happened to me, the more I will have some stuck energy. So for this mind now, it's a process to let go, and occasionally it is fun to look at memories. But what I did this past weekend, was just observe my son. He's 44. He was in August, and he's such a love. I mean, you know, sometimes I feel like when I would visit him, or, you know, of course, my other son lives down the street, you know, I would tell them, like, you know, this is what they'd ask me how I was, and I'd tell them a little bit of what I was doing. And then I would absolutely talk more about myself sometimes, about, you know, I'm doing the course, or I'm doing this, or I went to, you know, wherever. This time, my guidance, and it is the best guidance, is just to watch him and to just relish in that love. And what I saw was this beautiful soul that just, my son is so darling, the way he has such love and respect for his wife. She is a beautiful person, and his son, and Noah, and the way he was treating them, and the gentleness, you know. And he's never done A Course in Miracles, but he actually was the first one to ever bring up, even though I was buying books in my 30s, he had gone to many things in high school that were about non-duality. And he would tell me, Mom, you're the right candidate for this, you know. And I remember saying to him, but I got to find the money, Andrew, because I'll be with God the rest for eternity. But didn't God have a laugh at me? I was worried about money. I was worried about getting the money that my ex-husband took. And that does seem pretty difficult when you think you're a human being, right? Because you really need money. You know how they told us we need retirement, and we need this, and we need that. And this is the way the ego works. It's about having more. I was listening to Lynn, I think it was Monday. I don't remember which teaching it was, but she was talking about how the ego always wants more. And that happens with food. At least for me, you know, if I decide like, oh, today I'm going to pig out, you better believe I do. I pig out because I give the ego what it wants, more. But does it really need that? And we do that in spiritual circles too. You know, this is what I know. I know this, I know that. Do you know that, teacher? And it's all about connection. But can we connect in the silence? You know, there's a teaching I was listening to that Gloria had brought to us. Well, I think it was somebody else in our group. But anyway, she was discussing the thunder of silence. And I have to say, that is Joel Goldsmith's book, and I'm ordering it because the silence is the very thing that I see this mind distracted from. Why is that? Because that's the end of the ego. When you're in the thunder of silence, you're no longer anything except God or God's Son. And the love that we feel here in the domain of the ego consciousness is a little bit less dramatic, I would think. And again, I'm just going by assumptions here, but less dramatic than when we are finally out of this body. And what makes us believe, or this mind, Sharon, that I was here so long? Well, I have memories, but they're just memories. They're just pictures in my mind of the past. And they're beautiful. But it was far more fun to watch my son this weekend than talk about the past, or even look at pictures. We were going to do this thing with DVDs, because I really did have a very good time raising my boys. You know, I just had I don't know, I just took a lot of joy in doing that. You know, whenever there was like whether it be Halloween, Christmas, anything that I could have a party for, that's what I always did, because I did have this beautiful feeling that we're here to be happy. Little did I know that 20 years later, I would find A Course in Miracles. But that is really the truth. Our happiness really is only in the authentic self. The other happiness that we get is fleeting. It's emotions. and they come and they go. They're a lot of fun, and I have to say, I'm thrilled that I got to come here. And the the Age of the Heart, I have that on audio, on Audible books now, and I'm enjoying it so much. I get this illumination from just hearing them talk about what we really are. This is nothing. I mean, I had an idea that I would miss this planet and my this and my that. But no, I think that our knowing knows that we are only in for more and more extravagant times for the Son of God. Because when we are out of this body, which we are most of the time, right? Because, we don't even realize it, I think, but during the day, I think we flash in and out, right? Because it's just a play in consciousness. It's a movie that consciousness is having. But there's so much to be grateful for. And we are approaching Thanksgiving a week from today. I probably won't be here next week. I should say that because I'll be in Philadelphia and it'll be too hard to come on unless I can come on my phone, and that's possible. So I'll leave it open. But I want to talk about a little bit about gratitude. I have so much. This mind has so much to be grateful for. Even when you look at gratitude, you're immediately in the right mind. You are no longer in wrong mind thinking. Egos cannot feel grateful because it's a system of more. So if you have a piece of chocolate, it wants more, rather than right mind might say, thank you for that piece of chocolate, that's enough. And that's really the mind training of A Course in Miracles, to slow the mind down. Slow it down to the present moment. It seems like a lot of fun to be human when we're all like wired up and feel that energy, but that energy is different than the energy of truth. And we only have a taste of it. That's what I really meant to say. We are tasting the truth here. It's a taste. But I can say now, just from the taste, it's extraordinary. And when I have been with, different family members, at this point, I have nothing to say about what I'm doing. I want to know what they're doing. And I think it was like Regis that had brought that up, because if we look outside of us and we see that everyone is us, so when we are seeing the reflection of us, why are we interested in telling our story when that reflection could give us so much learning? I love Gloria, and when she shares with me, she will remain the student. What a beautiful thing to say. I mean, to know anything is the booby prize here, but to be in the mystery is everything. And that's all. Over to you, Laura. Continue the mystery.
Thanks, Sharon. I was reading the other day about memory. You were talking about memories and dipping into our memories. And as we dip into our memories, we reinforce the separate self. And in chapter 28, section 1, there's a line that says, there is no link of memory to the past. There is no link of memory to the past. And Jesus talks about the memory, the true memory is the memory of what we are, our home with God, and us being the Christ self. And so the false use of memory is with our separate self and all of the things we've been through. And that's been what's been coming up for me as Rod transitioned, because he was such a part of my life. I mean, he was a central figure in my life, and lots of memories and lots of so-called spiritual progression with him, etc. And to take all that and say, nothing I see means anything. These thoughts do not mean anything. My thoughts, which are I put that in quotes, because there's no such thing as my thoughts, do not mean anything. And continually challenging that is actually what makes me free, because the minute I get into me, I, separate self, I'm in hell. And I can see that with my current relationship. It's just this wonderful opportunity to practice staying in the true self, because all the old patterns of analyzing my partner, analyzing the relationship, analyzing Lori in the relationship, they make me feel like absolute crap. And I don't want that. I don't choose that anymore. So I am so grateful for this opportunity to accept what this lesson is saying. My Father gives all power unto me. And to go into that place of, I don't know anything. Certainly the ego part of me thinks it knows everything and thinks it knows how to shape the relationship and shape the life the way it should be. But it's all about that inequality. It's all about hate. It's all about attacking. It cannot stay in the present moment. And so I've noticed that as we were in the honeymoon phase, it's easy to do, because when you're in the honeymoon phase, you're in this space of presence and love and wonder and everything. And then when you move into, we're a couple now and we have a relationship now, and you lose that little bit of glow that was there at the beginning, and then all the ego stuff comes up. So it's been really great to watch that and to have this opportunity to let it all go and to move more fully into living living as the Christ. So Ken writes in the commentary, again, following from lesson 319, this is not arrogance to accept the power of God, but the humility that says this power is not in me alone, an individual lording it over others. That's what I just said. It is the power of Christ, God's one Son, as he created him. And I know the power is truly mine when I share its strength and love with the world. And then there's a quote from chapter 26. To use the power God has given you as he would have it used is natural. It is not arrogant to be as he created you, nor to make use of what he gave to answer all his son's mistakes and set him free. But it is arrogant to lay aside the power that he gave and choose a little senseless wish instead of what he wills. So to lay aside God's power for what the ego thinks it wants, and to even believe that the ego could possibly know what it wants, and to go with what you've said, Dove, as what your favorite lesson was. It used to be your mantra lesson. I do not know what anything is for. The ego thinks it knows what everything is for and is going to combat its way into making it happen like that. So it's interesting, in the Western cultures, we have this thing about, I'm going to be independent and I'm going to make my life the way I want it to. And previously in Eastern cultures, it was more the opposite of, I'm going to submit to the power of the group. I don't mean anything like, I'm thinking China, and I'm sure they're changing now, but it was the opposite. But both stances are ego. Whether you are so independent and you make your life, I'm the captain of my fate and the master of my ship, or however that goes, or if you're like, I'm nothing, you go ahead. Both of those are ego. So it's not arrogance to accept the power God gives to us. And over to you, Dove.
Thank you so much for that. Yes. It's our willingness to say, I do not know, that allows us to actually evolve into what we are, which is the light. My dark mind does not know anything, and I don't want to put my darkness into the world at all. I mean, the ego said, well, I know everything, because obviously the ego knows everything, because it gave meaning to it, made everything, gave meaning to everything. But you don't want to bring that into the world, because you are the light. That kind of brings up, Jesus says, I saw the face of Christ in all that I met, and I remembered God, and I realized that he could reverse that. I remembered the light, I remembered God, I remembered the love, and I saw the face of Christ in all that I met. I mean, light sees light. It doesn't matter if you see in the brother, and then you remember God, or you remember the light in God, and you see. So it gets to the idea of the light you bring, which I just happened to come across chapter 25. I opened the page and there it was, the light you bring, chapter 25, which is the justice of God. And I say that the justice of God, chapter 25, has 9 sections. It's probably one of the most powerful sections in the chapters in the book, because you hear how God sees, you hear how God sees. So section 4 of it is called the light you bring, and my eyes went down to, well, I did underline paragraph 2, and I put it into the chat. I also put it into the room. There's more to paragraph 2, but let me just start with what I got. It says, perception's basic law could thus be said: you will rejoice at what you see because you see it to rejoice. And you might say, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then he tells you what it means in the next sentence. And while you think that suffering and sin will bring you joy, so long will they be there for you to see. So he tells you why you come into this world, why we come here to learn lessons, and we come into this world so we can see guilt in others. Remember, I'm a victim, poor innocent me. I didn't do anything. And somebody is scamming me. Somebody is victimizing me. Somebody is doing something wrong. They should be punished, not me. I'm innocent. Oh, you mean that's what you're using your power of perception for, to see guilt? Maybe that's why you're not rejoicing. It says, perception's basic law could thus be said: you will rejoice at what you see because you see it. Oh, what's the purpose of perception? Oh, purpose is everything, isn't it? Yeah. So if I'm going to give meaning to my perception, what is it that I want to perceive? Do I want to see the joy? Do I want to see the light? Do I want to see the innocence? Or do I want to see the sin and the guilt? That's what you'll see. Wow. That's a whole new way of seeing. Yeah, someone a long time ago said, Dov, you're a visionary. And a visionary is somebody who basically doesn't go along with the laws of what's going on here, and sees a bigger picture, which I guess you could equate to the word limitlessness. You're into the awareness of what's really happening. If you're not into the awareness, you see a lot of ants running around on an anthill, going every which way, trying to whatever it is that the ants think they have to do. Going on the same paragraph, nothing is harmful. Nothing is harmful. Wow. Or beneficent apart from what you wish. Oh, so I came here to see guilt in others, but I'm not going to feel that it's something good because I don't see what's really there. I'm putting what's there. That's right. That's what you use perception for, Dov. You use it to see what it is that you don't like where you are over there, because you want them punished. You want to say, hey, Father, I didn't do anything. I'm innocent. I'm here, but I'm not responsible for being here. It goes on to say, it's your wish that makes it what it is and its effects on you. I'm going to read the rest of it right from the paragraph itself. Because you chose it as a means to gain these same effects, believing them to be bringers of rejoicing and of joy, even in heaven does this law obtain. So he's really telling you that even in heaven, the laws of perception, what is it you want to give? See it. See it. That's visionary saying. God gives love because God is love. God is light. Doesn't see any darkness. So you don't want to bring darkness into the world. You want to see the light. That means you want to change what it is that the purpose for what it is that you see. The purpose of what it is all you really need to change. Purpose. Only purpose has meaning. What's my purpose of my seeing? Do I want to see the guilt, the darkness, the suffering, the pain? You'll see it. So you might say the world's a classroom for seeing. What do I want to see? You'll see it. And I just want to finish on that idea that you brought up earlier, Sharon, on the idea of more. So more is mentioned in the Antichrist, chapter 29, section 8, which I used to go through the book, and I never wanted to read the Antichrist. I said, what do I want to read the Antichrist for? One day I had a jury duty, and that day, it was in November, just about now, and the regular reading of the text happened to be on chapter 29, section 8. I happened to bring my book on that day because I knew I'd be sitting there waiting to be interviewed. So I said, okay, I'm going to read today's assignment. And what did I find in reading the 2.5 pages? He starts off by saying, do you think you know what an idol is? And then he kind of chuckles and laughs. No, you don't really know what an idol is, because the purpose, the word purpose, the purpose of an idol is to be obscure, that you don't even know you're idolizing it when you're idolizing it. And that's exactly what the ego is in this world, is it wants more. The idol that we worship without knowing that it's an idol is the idea that I need more. I lack, I want to get, and that will keep you rotating and revolving around the sun and pivoting and doing and getting and on and on. Now, that's exactly why the aware Son of God says, I don't want any more of this. I'm going home. The school bell is ringing. Class is out. Au revoir. Ciao. Love you. Over to you, Sharon.
Well, we only have a couple minutes, so I might give it to Lori to say goodbye too, because it is Thanksgiving next week. And I am so grateful for this group, and grateful to be here on Thursdays, and certainly will be listening to Zuma, probably on Pal Talk, because I just love listening to Zuma teach. She's beautiful. And yeah, I do miss that Regis won't be on, but we have enough of Regis to listen to him too, right? Because he does make us happy. And Dove, your teaching was beautiful. When you talk about the light, that's the thing that that I feel right now. There's so much light. And what does light really mean? Well, it's probably just an interpretation if I say what it means, but it's just beautiful. It's really the only thing I can say about it. And to lighten up is really what enlightenment is, right? To lighten up. And what does it mean to lighten up? To not pay attention to these ridiculous thoughts that we think mean something. That we want to be known, we want to be recognized, we want to be special, we just want. And there's nothing wrong with that, because remember, this has all been a dream, and it's all been so much fun. But to just, when we sit in the sun, like on the beach, and want to get a tan, and we just want to look good, why don't we just sit with the sun? Because that's the closest we get to the light right now. The sun just is beautiful, and we love that. It's sometimes like I watch a show with my husband, and it'll have a lot of light in there, and I'll just be attracted to that. And that's because that's what we are. We're not these humans. Behind the filter that I'm in is all light. It's all light. So lighten up, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I'm so thankful. And I just want to say that you are so loved, all of you. Laurie, you can say goodbye now, honey. I'm going to give you the mic.
Okay, we have 4 minutes. So I'll finish reading the commentary on lesson 320. Paragraph 2, line 1 reads, "Your will can do all things in me and then extend to all the world as well through me." Ken says, "When my mind is healed, God's Son is one. And since ideas leave not their source, the world is one with me as well." And that's something I've made this absolute determination after last week. I am not going to hate this world anymore. I am going to love the world, which actually, from the ego standpoint in me, I can't even conceive of that. The dream figure Lori has hated the world, hated society, which is really ridiculous because I love individual people. So what is the world but a collection of individual people? Because when I connect with my friends, I love them all, and I can connect with anyone one-on-one and absolutely love them. So it's just this ego lie that says I hate the world, and there is no world outside of my mind anyway. But it's been in the background of my whole life, and it's got to go. It's just got to go, because I think I've let go of so many other ego attachments, letting go of hating the body, letting go of the special ego love relationship stuff, letting go of so much that, okay, the world as a macro whole, even though it's really just still another projection from the mind, no different than any other, is okay, it's coming up to be healed. So this is wonderful when I hear this. Your will can do all things in me and then extend to all the world as well through me, because I don't want to project hate anymore. It's not about the world. It has nothing to do with the world. The chapter 18, section 6 has a line that says, "You who hate the body, you who think you hate the body, deceive yourself. You hate your mind because guilt has entered into it, and you would be separate from your brother, which you cannot be." And I've used that a lot on the body, hating the body. Well, just translate that to you who think you hate the world, deceive yourself. So I have to, again, there's no world out there. There's no body out there. It's hatred that I have allowed to enter into my mind, and I've denied who I really am. I've denied that I have this power of God, because as this is coming up, I've noticed just the ego reaction is like, there's no way. I can't do this. I cannot do this. I'm not fit for this world. I cannot function. Oh my God, it's just too overwhelming. There is no way I'll ever love the world. So that's how strong it is in the ego base. But the Course says, no, my Father gives all power unto me. So I'm going to turn this back over to you, Dove, to close out. And thanks everyone for Thankful Thursday. I love this. I love talking with you guys.
I do too. Before, Dove, you take this, Zuma had said something that I didn't see, but I just want to share the Antichrist. She said she would love to do an interactive with us. I was thinking the same thing, Zuma. Wouldn't it be great just to read that section and all of us just do it? It would be so fun. So I just had to say that. Anyway, over to you, Dove.
Okay. I want to thank everyone here. I just want to complete what it is I started, and I didn't complete it. It's from it's from the Justice of God, chapter 25, the light we bring, and it's in paragraph, it's in section 4, paragraph 2. Even in heaven does this law obtain. So the law of perception, which I just spoke about, works in heaven as well. What is it that you want to see? You'll see it. And goes on to say, the Son of God creates to bring him joy. So do you want the joy of God instead of the pain? Then that is your purpose in seeing. Sharing his Father's purpose in his own creation, that's his joy might be increased, and God's along with it. So you're looking to increase the joy of God by sharing the joy of God and being the joy of God. Can you see how totally opposite that is in this world of sin, darkness, and guilt, blame, shame, and guilt, you gotta laugh. You simply gotta laugh. And Zoma says, not quite what I meant, but you gotta laugh anyway. Zoma, I understand you'll be taking Risha's place, at least, I don't know, I guess on Tuesday or Thursday. So you can tell us all. You can share it right now. Love you all. Thank you so
Zuma,
much.
I love
Lori
you.
and
If you want to
Sharon.
do something like that, I can do it with you or whatever you want. I don't always get things right, Zuma. I do the best I can.